Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. This is a nice looking rack. It looks jolly close to a bingo, but do I have one? Well, nothing's come to mind. Plenty of sixes, meteor, retime. But it's a nice rack, so I don't really want to wreck it. I think I'll play emo and keep a decent 4-letter set, but am I missing a bingo here? I like to make the first move fairly quickly, and I'm going with this. So I have retain plus an E, I have retinee and trainee and aronite. Surely one of those or an alternative will play. So do I have anything beginning or ending with E? That would be 3 E's. Not seeing anything. And then the next best plays at the moment are likely to be overlaps. So retinee plays in row I underneath emo. Emo only takes an S after it. I don't have one. And it takes a D and an M in front, and I have neither of those. And opponent changes, fantastic. So, is retinee the play? R takes a number of vowels in front, but only an E underneath it. It doesn't play above, unless starting in column 8. So, retinee, aronite. What about aronite here? It is sticking the E in the open, which is really bingo-y, but not providing anything massive other than that. I'm going to struggle to avoid putting an E in the open. Retinee certainly does that. And worse in row I, because the E goes under this double letter square. And trainee was the alternative. Yeah, I think that's going to be best. Trainee here. No, I don't like this X spot. So I'm going back to aronite for 69. And I was just wondering about playing it in row I, but I don't think there's a huge amount of difference. Now, pretty good. Through a U, I would have sublunar. But what about this E? It looks like it helps this rack. I don't think nurseable is good. But is there an anagram which is? And what about the T? Subaltern through T and E. What, do I have anything which goes in front of emo? No, so I can ignore this A. What about RE? No. EM. I've got the un prefix. Not seeing anything. What about NO? NO. Gosh, there could be something there. I'm not seeing it. I is also available because of emos. So this rack plus an I. Not seeing anything. So, oh wow, fantastic bingo by opponent. Footpad using both blanks. Splendid spot. And wow, E and A. Do those give me anything? Don't think so. Very difficult to be sure of nines. What about I and T? Could end IST? No, not seeing anything. So I have noob, but I can't get that to play twice. What I'm looking to do is to get rid of B and U. Yeah, this E no longer available. Wow, what a start for opponent. They did change on their opening move, 4 tiles, but what an outcome for them, and it wasn't a particularly propitious rack, but it was a splendid spot. Now footpad takes an S, I've got one. So can I get my B doubled? Don't think I can. Wow, if I had a 7 with this rack, it would score a lot in column 15. So I can play blurs. What does this score? 31 points. I think this is worth doing. Still 3 S's to come. I wasn't seeing anything great. And this doesn't offer very much, and the rack leave I think is reasonable. I do have Buran's though, which is going to be even better. So Buran's for 43. Fantastic. And this looks a pretty decent rack, especially having drawn 6 tiles. So I have Angelic. I would have Angelica onto an A. This A, not quite in the right spot. And Angelic doesn't play. Anglice is good. That does play in row F. Fantastic. So Nook takes S and Y. I've got Anglice. And this is part of a triplicate. So Anglice, Angelic, and one more. What is it? One more anagram. Angelic, Anglice. It's later than Anglice in the alphabet. Galenic, I think. Now, ref only takes a T in front. Yeah, so it is only Anglice. What else is there to consider? B and U? No. So let me get this down. Anglice for 70. Well, I draw the Z, which is good, but an unbalanced rack, only 1 vowel. I have Whiz, which I can play through the I of Anglice, retaining my precious I. V, W and Z are all non-bingo-y, so I'd be looking to play off 2 of them. I don't think I'm going to be able to play off all 3. Opponent must be drawn to the A of Anglice. So, what about playing Vizier instead of Whiz? Yeah, getting rid of the V and the Z is better than the W and the Z. 60 points for opponent, absolutely brutal. So my lead, less than 20 points. Both blanks have gone. Still 3 S's to come, and row K super hot because of nukes. So this is what I'm thinking. Vizier here. Or I could play it lower down. Each play has its pros and cons. Vizier can extend, Vizier ship is good. But I have the S. So I might be more likely to play that than opponent. Vizier rate is good. But if I played Vizier higher up, that I next to the double word square is hot for opponent and for bingos. So is this the play? Are there any super hot Z spots I've overlooked? I don't think so. Yeah, I can't get value underneath koi. Let me be sure of that, because I do have SW. No, I don't. So, Vizier for 34. And I draw another big tile in the J. And I have a couple of vowels, which is good. And I've drawn one of these S's. So, I have swam in row K, which is nice. Takes out the hot bingo lane in row K. Scores handsomely and still leaves an S on my rack. I've got wasm in row J and viziers, which also takes out row K, or massively interferes with it. I don't have any extensions to vizier. None of the moves I've suggested have used the J, so are there any J spots? Don't think so. But a lot of the tiles, the W and the M, don't go great with the J. Except I do have jam, jaw and Jew on my rack, plus the plural. So I have Jews, or jaws, where opponent has played hod. Jaw is good. Wow, and I have a big play here. I have James for 65 points, hanging on to the S, and a scoring tile which goes next to AD. Is this the play? I lead by 20. I'll lead by 80 after this. Am I? Is this the play? Is there an alternative? E and A both go next to D. Well, I don't think Jewess is good. But in any event, that burns both S's. I am going with this. Oh, wow. What a grim pick. And Uwu not good at the moment. Otherwise, that would certainly sort this rack out. But what a bad pick. I retained S and W. And drew 2 U's. An opponent plays D's, but not in a spot where I can play Voodoo. That's a shame. So, just 22 for opponent, which is great. Drad does not take anything at the end. Do I have any WU plays? I have Wuss, but that doesn't play in column 2, so I don't get the W to play twice. Wow, that's wretched. So, 3 grim tiles. I lead by a bingo and I really wanted to power on. So what about doing this? Ulu, 15. It looks dangerous because of its front hooks, but what's left that goes in front of it? L for Lulu. I don't think Pulu is good, but it may be. And S, which I've got one of, so that's in my favour. It sorts the rack out pretty much in one. It leaves this super hot W spot alone, and opponent may well be concerned at the top. And the most likely outcome is a non-bingo in row A, which doesn't score very much. I am going with this. Well, I have duplicates, but I do have wow in column 2, which it does leave duplicate I, but that's the only downside to it. Still one S in the open, still a Q and a U to come. And lots of bingo-y A's and E's. In fact, the remaining pool, I would say, is more bingo-y than usual. Oh, what wretchedness. Opponent has blocked wow because WEF not good. That is so galling. And what's plan B? I didn't have one. And what about this L? I don't think I can do very much with this. And opponent scored well, 28 points. Ref is good, but no WOR words. So, is there anywhere else on the board for wow, regardless of score? If I had an A, I could play wall. I don't have to play off both W's because this is a hotspot. Well, what about just doing this? Just doing woe. It's 32 points. That's a big score. I don't think row O is massively dangerous. But in any event, I think I'm still in the game because 32 points will take me to nearly 340. I'll be 100 up. And opponents got to take out row O immediately. Or I probably will do so myself. I'm going with this. Triplicate I with only one to come. And the P, which doesn't go well with the W. I could play Willie for a very low score, but taking out row O and completely sorting the rack out. And again, opponent takes my spot and scores well, 44 points. So my lead only 50, and there are bingo lanes on this board, and I can't take out row L. Now, is there really nowhere for Iwi? And what about Pulu? Well, even if Pulu is good, I can't see a way of scoring. But Iwi would be my preferred play and hanging on to the S, so not Iwi's. K has gone. I don't have an L for Willie. I'd really like to keep scoring, but I had this low score of 15 for Ulu. There is an iwi spot here for 15 points, which isn't great, but it's not giving anything away, and the rack leave is really good, bearing in mind that Sulu is good and Pulu maybe. Yep, I am going with this. And I draw V and G. Not good, but still 16 tiles to come, and I dodge the Q. So that could be on opponent's rack. I don't think I can do anything great with the L. I think liver is the best I can see there. 24 points. All L's have gone, so Lulu's not available. Let me check Pulu. Because if it's good, and it is, I have Spiv in row A, getting the V doubled. It burns the S, but the score is going to mean that that's worth doing. Over 40 points. I'm not going to get anything like that elsewhere. But if opponent plays at the top, I don't have anything great through this L. Liver burns all of my vowels and leaves GP, which is very non-synergetic. Great. Opponent plays in row O for a humble score. Doesn't provide anything I need to concern myself with. And I have Spiv for 45. And I draw the U, which means opponent does not have it. And they've just drawn 4 tiles and may have drawn the Q themselves. Oh, wow. What a bingo. Fantastic. And my lead just 18 points. 1 tile in the bag. Wow, what a play. I wasn't expecting that. Q and Y and G to come. So, can I survive? I probably need to hang on to the U in case the Q is in the bag. What if opponent's got Q or Q and I? what can they do with that? 6 minutes on my clock. So any QI spots. Well, let me account for the 3 U's on the board, 2 in Pulu and 1 in Buran, so they are not using the U. There's a QI spot above Aranite for about 20. What else is available? Cat is good. No N's for Sank. And no A for cat apart from the A of Aerosat. So, what to do? This feels like it ought to be my game. Aerosat only takes an S. So, well, what is best? I've got 5 minutes, so I should be able to figure this out. I have to keep the U, that gives me flexibility. I'd like to get rid of B and G, neither goes well with the Q. So what about doing this? What about doing beg? Does this win? It forces opponents into playing QI, if they've got that. I'm drawing 1 tile, so I can't look for an out with these 4 tiles. But I'm not primarily looking for an out in 1. I'm just trying to structure my rack so that I can survive drawing a Q. So what if I did draw the Q? What would I do? Well, I can certainly play it because I've got Chi above the Eye of Aranite and I've got Cat, so I can play the Q. This isn't a great rack. 4 minutes on my clock. Well, there's only a 1 in 8 chance that the Q is in the bag, so I think, given the time, I think beg is fine. I lead by 18. I'll lead by 42. Surely this rack is sufficiently resilient to survive any draw. Well, I dodge the Q. And I draw a vowel. Am I going out with this? Not seeing any 5s with this rack. Opponent surely will play QI. But what can I then do? If I can't go out, opponent's going to play QI for a 20-odd score and have another go. I've only got 1-point tiles. Tab and Ute are both good. But I don't even have any TU plays. Gosh. I think Rab is good, so I could play Roo. But Rab may not be good. It may be Rav I'm thinking of. So opponent with 12 minutes on their clock. Now, they have not played QI. They've scored 28 points. My lead is just 14. And I have 3 minutes on the clock. Opponent has not set up a Q spot. They've got Cat. But Row F far more valuable. So I do need to play here. And not give anything away. Wow. How best to do this? I'm not going to score very much. So I can play ET. which sets up nothing for opponent. Let me play UT instead. So, and I'm doing that because I think I'm more likely to go out with ERE, but I only have to find 2 outs for whatever my rack is. But is this the play? I lead by 14. This scores 6. I'm going to lead by 20. I think all opponent can do is play cat, Q80. I haven't seen anything else. I'm not creating anything opponent can use. If opponent doesn't play the Q, I get 20 on countback. With this rack leave, I can play Veer, and that's why I switched from Et to Ut. That's 12. And I also have Re, Eat, and E. So I think this wins. Unless I've overlooked a hot Q spot. Well, if it's there, I haven't seen it. I'm going with this. What's opponent going to do? And what's my best move? Is it Veer for 12? Lear for less. Can't get value from the B. Opponent's played the Q for 12. Fantastic. My lead is 8 points. And that's all it needs to be because I have Veer for 14. 1 minute on my clock. Can I do any better with ERR? Nice I is good. Where one to have an I. No, I'm not seeing anything better than this. So Veer for 14. And the final score, 420 for opponent, 456 for me, a winning margin of 36 points. So a huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, what a fantastic game. Brilliant comeback by opponent with Aerosat. So it was me to go first. Phew, no missed bingo here. And ISC always likes these long opening plays. I don't like them. So I'm happy with my play, despite sacrificing 10 points. Opponent with both blanks from the get-go. Amazing. Changes. I have a ton of bingos, all scoring pretty much the same. So difficult to decide which is best. And another reason for choosing Aronite is if opponent's got an S bingo and they play in column 14, there'll be access to triple word squares. Now this was the rack opponent had, and wow, it doesn't look great, but there are a ton of bingos. Redfoots, footbed, footled. Wow, and these are not, for the most part, duplicates. So more choice than I realised. And opponent gets 3 less than the optimum, so that was a good spot. Oh, wow, Slurban. There was a bingo. Wow. It's been a while since I studied that. Well done if you saw that. Slurban missed bingo for 90 points. And I played Burans, but I could have played Balloons, retaining the R, a better tile than the L. And then this is my move in 4th position, but Slurban certainly was the play. I-15, yeah, making footpads. Now, opponent's rack plays Koi. And as so often, one is rewarded for suboptimal play with a bingo. Anglice for 70. And I have a bingo's lead, but that shrinks dramatically with a great non-bingo score of 60. I play Vizier for 34, that looks fine. Opponent, not a great rack, plays Hod. And James for 65, that was my play. And I now have a 100-point lead. Opponent plays Drad. And this is my grim rack. What do I do? Interesting, I play Ulu, getting rid of the U's. I could have played Woe for 32. Well, I don't like that. Ulu for B2, Ulu for 15, that was my play. I sacrificed 17 points to jettison the 2 U's. Is that worthwhile? I think so. IOSW is a good rack, especially with this W spot. So score and rack lead wouldn't take into account the existence of a great W spot. But I think, well, certainly IOSW, even if you're just looking at rack leave, what's that going to be worth? Yes is 8 to 10. I helps it a little bit. O drags it back, and W drags it back a lot. I still think this is going to be positive to the tune of maybe 3 or 4 points. But ILSUU, well, you're starting with the S, the I and the L help. U drags it back a lot, and the second U just kills it. I think this is going to be, well, probably about -5, so there could only be an 8-point difference, and there's a 17-point difference in score. So possibly where one score and rack leave is better, but that doesn't take account of this W spot, so I'm reasonably happy with my play. Plus I'm creating a front hook, which I have and which is fairly obscure. Now opponent plays Phil, and I do now play Woe, and 32 points is a decent score. It's half a bingo. Opponent's rack, and a good spot of Henny for 44 points. Psy, H6. Making hip and jaws, that's nice, but keeping 2 eyes. What do? I play Iwi for 15, keeping a really good rack leave. And yeah, there's 11 points of difference there, but I'm retaining the S, so this is definitely a better play. Opponent's rack, creeping towards a bingo, plays a leapt, and now I have Spiv for 45. And here it is, opponent's fantastic bingo of Aerosat, the only playable bingo. And suddenly, from a 100-point lead, my lead is now just 18 points. 1 tile in the bag, and a Q unseen. B get M9. Where's that? Wow, beginning above the E of Aerosat. But I don't like that, because if I draw the Q, I could get stuck with the Q. Although it's good to have the U, you need other vowels, and they're just not available, especially after playing beget. So I think I like my play. Opponent plays Tech for 28, and I don't have an out, and I do want to block this QI spot, so I play Ut. Opponent burns the Q, and finally Veer for 14 is best. So what a super exciting game. Great start with Aronite early doors, but then opponents comes back with Footpad. I miss the opportunity of playing Slurban, but then do get Anglice down and establish a 100-point lead, which vanishes as opponent gets some great scores with Zoana, Henny, and the bingo of Aerosat. So quite a tense ending with the Q unplayed, but opponent not able to get good value from it, and I was able to run out a winner by 30-odd points. So super exciting stuff. Many thanks to opponent for a great battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.